There's no shortage of cliches encouraging you to be yourself, as if it were really just that easy. It's not that you shouldn't be yourself, but that such encouragement presupposes a solution to the enormously difficult problem of self-identity. When you're told to be yourself, the natural answer is, okay, but who am I exactly?
I don't know who I am!
Friedrich Nietzsche, 19th century German philosopher and bushy mustache aficionado, wrestled with this question repeatedly throughout his work. In our hearts, he said, we all know that we're in the world only once, that there's no second chance to fully realize and develop this entirely unique combination of elements that is the miracle we call ourself. Yet we hide this truth from ourselves like a bad conscience, busying our days with this and that, constantly distracting ourselves in order to avoid looking the problem in the eye. Why? Partly from the human propensity for laziness in the face of what is one of life's greatest challenges, and partly from fear of the complete honesty and nakedness that comes along with confronting ourselves, discovering what we really are and can be, which also means acknowledging what we are not and cannot be. Yet, we must confront these difficult and uncomfortable realities if we're to give meaning to our lives and make them something more than a series of thoughtless accidents.
What's that supposed to mean?
Human beings who do not want to belong to the mass need only to stop being comfortable. Follow their conscience, which cries out, be yourself. All that you are now doing, thinking, and desiring is not really yourself. His exhortation isn't over some trivial matter, for Nietzsche says that our happiness is limited by the extent to which we live fettered by the chains of laziness, fear, and convention. Yet, if all I do, think, and desire is not really myself, then again I'm left puzzling over the question of who myself really is. What does your conscience say? Nietzsche wrote. You should become who you are. The shift emphasizes that the problem of self-identity isn't one of just letting go, dropping social pretenses, letting your real self out. No, Nietzsche says, it's not a question of simply being yourself, but of becoming yourself, of committing to a deliberate act of self-creation. Nietzsche compares the task to that of a sculptor, describing how we must shape a form from the chaos of various elements. One thing is needful, he says, to give style to one's character, a great and rare art. It is practiced by those who survey all the strengths and weaknesses of their nature and then fit them into an artistic plan until every one of them appears as art, and reason and even weakness delight the eye. Just as a bodybuilder sculpts his physical self, adding mass here, removing it there, occasionally indulging in some more relaxing activities, but with everything done in the service of achieving one's ideal physical proportions, Nietzsche says we must undertake a similar but infinitely more important activity with ourselves, our characters, and chisel from the raw material we've been given the person who we truly are. Here, a large mass of second nature has been added. There, a piece of original nature has been removed, both times through long practice and daily work at it. In the end, when the work is finished, it becomes evident how the constraint of a single taste governed and formed everything, large and small. This isn't the self-satisfied feel-goodism of an inspirational be-yourself t-shirt, but a call to undertake the strenuous work of self-renovation and ultimately self-invention. The process involves taking account of the many internal drives and desires which are ordinarily in conflict with one another, which compete for our attention, energy, and time, and harnessing or coordinating them in such a way that they seek the end of our choosing, rather than the diverse ones which they each tend to seek naturally. Consider the case of someone like Mike Tyson, who said that he was abstinent for the first 5 years of his career, as you can imagine, not from a lack of libido,
I may like fornicate more than other people,
but from a desire to divert his sexual energy in order that it might aid his pursuit of the goals he himself chose, rather than the ones blindly dictated to him by nature. Or, probably a bit more to Nietzsche's tastes, Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, whom Nietzsche singles out as one of history's most successful cases of self-creation, someone who disciplined himself to wholeness by reconciling reason, sense, feeling, and will, someone who conceived the idea of a complete human being and then worked tirelessly to become that person. So, how are we to discover the idea of the self towards which we should build? That unique single taste which governs the entire process of self-creation? Such a discovery seems to require nothing less than self-knowledge, yet how can we have knowledge of a thing which hasn't yet come into being? It's all a bit tricky, but here's what Nietzsche recommends. How can man know himself? Look back upon life with the question, what have you truly loved up to now? What has elevated your soul? What has mastered it and at the same time delighted it? Place these venerated objects before you in a row, and perhaps they will yield for you, through their nature and their sequence, a law, the fundamental law of your true self. Compare these objects. See how one complements, expands, surpasses, transfigures another, how they form a stepladder upon which you have climbed up to yourself as you are now. For your true nature lies not hidden deep within you, but immeasurably high above you, or at least above that which you normally take to be yourself. So, if you're interested in a life that isn't a thoughtless accident, take Nietzsche's advice and do some reflecting. And regardless of whether your true self is the warrior of a Mike Tyson, the Renaissance intellectual of a Goethe, or something in that giant gap in between, the basic task is probably clear enough.
Sort your fucking life out, mate!